Hey there, FyreeTSG here. So this is my third video blog. I forgot to post on Friday, so I'm doing it now Sunday. Granted, it's not last week, so it's a new week, but I'm still doing one for this Friday. So I'm counting this as last week's blog. So a few points in this one. I didn't get any questions, and if you have questions, ask them in the video blog that I posted on the Nintendo Room. So, point one, Wii U Nintendo Direct they had this past week. A lot of games looking really good. The ones I'm definitely getting for is going to be the Yarn Yoshi game, the epic Yarn looking game featuring Yoshi, which is his first console release since Yoshi's Story in '98 for N64, I believe. So I mean, 15 years we've been waiting for a new Yoshi game, and Yoshi's easily my favorite character outside of Mario for Nintendo's cavalcade. Game looks great. There's not a whole lot on it. The screenshots I've seen have just been, awesome. So it's definitely worth, it'll be worth like $60 or whatever it costs when it comes out, and within the next year. The Zelda game looks great. Wind Waker HD. I played demo for Wind Waker years ago at Target. Remember when they had demos for GameCube games at Target? People who are on the Nintendo Room are probably too young to remember in-store demos for a lot of systems. You still get some at some places. You still see 3DS demos at like GameStop and some Targets or whatever. But remember, that's a whole other discussion, how old I am. Yeah, but Zelda Wind Waker HD, I'm getting it. I'm hoping, odds are, because the 3D Ocarina of Time for 3DS was $40, the full 3DS retail price for games. I'm thinking HD Wind Waker will probably be $60, which, again, that's not bad. Oh yeah, Mario Kart. Yeah, I'm hoping Mario Kart HD, Wii U, whatever the hell they're going to call it, Mario Kart 8. Although, trivia, Mario Kart Arcade and Mario Kart Arcade GP were arcade Mario Karts, co-published with Namco. I played the first one, the other one I think was released locally. I played the first Mario Kart arcade game, epic. I mean, you can play as any of the Nintendo group, like a lot of characters, and then you can play as Pac-Man or the Ghosts, and I think a few other Namco characters if they're in there, I don't remember, but I loved it. But yeah, I'm definitely, those three Wii U games that they showed off, and I'm definitely going to get. I'm still waiting for some 3DS games. The Luigi's Mansion will come out in 2 months. They just announced full online multiplayer. 4-player, like, battle mode, like 5, 10, or 15 floors, like the Haunted Mansion, something like that'll be epic. Finally another freaking online game for 3DS, because there aren't enough that I play. I have Mario Tennis, Mario Kart. Those are really it. And then, as always, if you follow the news I post on the Nintendo Room, Animal Crossing New Leaf is coming out in like a week in South Korea, which means I don't know why. I can see why they're getting it earlier, because Korean is probably a lot easier to translate from Japanese than it is from English. Plus, you have to figure all of the PAL region, all those European countries. You have to get English, French, Spanish, in like a couple dozen languages, and whatever regions it's being released in. In U.S., obviously, other languages, but I figure if they can, as soon as the PAL version comes out, the NTSC, the North American version, the Western Hemisphere version better be coming out, because I'm not waiting. I pre-ordered that and Luigi's Mansion like within the month after I got my 3DS back in October of 2011. At GameStop. I mean, yeah. I'm hoping that GameStop will have pre-order bonuses for those, because I want something for my 15-month wait to actually buy the game. I waited nearly a year to play Paper Mario before it finally came out, because I pre-ordered Paper Mario, Animal Crossing, Luigi's Mansion, and Mario 2 back in, early after I got my console, after I got my 3DS, for August of last year release. All 4 games were slated, never confirmed, but 4 were slated for last August, and the only one came out, Mario 2, which I love, but I mean, I got Street Pass data, so that gave me some incentive, and there's DLC content, which gave me some incentive. I hit the million coins. But there needs to be more with it. I loved it, and I'm not going to sell it. I plan on owning all the Mario games for the system, because I haven't done that in a while. I did at one point earlier last year own all 8 Super Nintendo games with Mario in it, including 9 counting Super Mario World for Super Famicom, which I still have. But yeah, Wii U looks great, and there's some 3DS games that I'm waiting for. So another thing I'll talk about. If you saw, I posted like a month or so ago. I'm going to get into one of my favorite things as a collector is retro games. Is the collector's market for retro games, and the fact that I myself paid $75 for an NES Model 101, the top loader that came out in like the mid '90s, towards the end of the NES era, when the Super Nintendo was going. Right before, as a matter of fact, it came out like '94, '95, so Super Nintendo was nearly done because N64 was just around the corner. I paid $75 for it, and if you look online, this thing is only retail for like $100. And that's the thing. That's the funny thing about retro gaming, about the collector's market for retro games. The fact that I call them retro games, you know, that it wasn't even a thing, because I bet you could have gone back in the 1990s and Atari was worthless. I mean, if you look back, if you know your gaming history, you know the 1983 video game Crash, when, you know, after Atari produced that god-awful E.T. game in a rushed time frame, they destroyed all the copies. I mean, all those are gone. Retro game really wasn't even a thing till about 10 years ago, when, you know, I had my N64. I mean, I got my Virtual Boy for my 13th birthday, and the fact that Hunter, Z Luigi on Nintendo Realm, got for his 13th birthday a Wii U was mind-blowing, because, I mean, for my 13th birthday, I got my Virtual Boy, which was worthless when I got it, because the thing had already been discontinued by Nintendo. So I got for like it was like $40 at the local KB at the local mall, which has been, the KB's been gone for like over a decade. I miss KB so much. But when I got my Virtual Boy, I got Mario Tennis, and like a couple months later, I got Panic Bomber, which is a really fun, kick-ass Bomberman game. Oh, I love that game, and I killed to play it. I'm waiting for 3DS to get Virtual Console, a Virtual Boy. But I remember selling it in like the late 90s. I think I got like maybe $10, maybe $10, $15 for all that, for the system and Panic Bomber. I didn't sell Mario Tennis. I still own my copy. I've had that thing for 16 years almost. That's got some good value probably, because it's only like 700,000 of those systems sold. They were discontinued. There was nothing for it. There was like 20 games that were actually released here. I just saw a thread online, like an article online, that a bunch of Japanese Virtual Boy games are going for like hundreds of dollars. I'm like, oh my god. I wish I still had mine, because I probably get a couple $100 for it now, because it's so freaking rare and valuable. But that's the collector's market. You go to any secondhand store, any pawn shop, any place that sells used games, retro games, classic games, you're seeing the good ones, the rare ones, going for $15, $20, $30. The Mario games for Super Nintendo and N64 are insanely priced. Back when I was still working, I bought Mario RPG and Mario World 2 for $35 a pop at a retro game store. The sucky thing is RPG didn't play, so I took it back and got a few things, but I got copies of Mario 2 for NES, so I mean, that was a decent swap. I got a couple other games and something else in exchange, but I should have kept RPG, because that's one of the hardest games to find, and I loved it. If I find another copy, I'm keeping it. Then again, it could just be my Super Nintendo, because it's old, used, and it needs a thorough cleaning. It needs a good scrubbing, because the thing is ancient. But I mean, the fact that I'm seeing these games that were worthless, because late 90s. I mean, as soon as the next generation of games, as soon as the next generation launches, the previous generation drops in value. That's just how it's been for the past decade or so, over the past 15 years or so. Because when I got my N64, I got that in like 98 or 99, and that still had, you know, a couple years left in it. It was still, you know, decent. It's still great. I mean, not decent. It was still a great system. I loved it. That's my favorite, probably my favorite card system, just in terms of a lot of great games I've always enjoyed playing. But when I sold my light blue, my ice blue N64 in 02, I got like nothing for it. I had the system, like 4 controllers, like a dozen games, a bunch of accessories. I got like maybe $30 for all of it in total at like 2 or 3 stores, because one store wouldn't take this, one store wouldn't take that. I got a PlayStation 1. I mean, I own a PS1 from like April of 02 to like the end of 02, because I got a GameCube for Christmas of 02. I spent 8 months playing PlayStation. I loved it, but then again, when I sold that, I got like $20 for that. And GameCube was the new thing, so I mean, I still love my GameCube. Oh my god, almost 100 games from that system. It's insane. A lot of repeats, though. A lot of sports games. But then again, And then you look at GameCube games, a lot of them are worthless, but then those good games, those Mario games, those great third-party games, great first-party games, are insane. They're still $30 used. And the problem with buying those used is the fact that they're mini discs and they're, you know, there are ways to repair them, but that's too much of a risk because you screw it up, you're screwed. And you just spent $30 on what is essentially a coaster. I love, you know, but I mean, retro games, the collector's market is insane. I mean, $700 for NES 101. And then you know, that thread I posted on Tengen Tetris, on that rare, you know, beta version, the tester version, prototype card going for like a couple grand online. I mean, I saw it on eBay like last year, and it's on another site now because apparently nobody's. I'm assuming somebody's bought it by now, because if they haven't, they're stupid. Because for me, that's the ultimate collector's item for a game collector. And for those of you wondering what Tengen cards look like, I have two for NES. Two, might I add, two of my all-time favorite games. Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man's my preferred. I paid, what, $10 for this? I mean, I've had this for years. I got the first store for like a couple bucks years ago, before collector's market for NES games was up there, especially Tengen. I don't know what this go for now. Probably not a lot compared to Tetris, but I'd probably still get $20-$30 for it online if I sold it. Because I mean, they're not that common. Because Tengen, if you read, or I'll tell you here, Tengen was an Atari subsidiary in like the, you know, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. They made a bunch of NES cards that were unlicensed by Nintendo, and they got in trouble for it. They got sued by Nintendo. I think they lost, or they won, which is one of the, either way, all the Tengen games for NES were, you know, thrown off store shelves and were no longer sold. So I mean, that's instant value for those. And Tetris, the fact that Tengen Tetris, which is, again, I get a copy of that game, I stopped buying old games because I'm like, I got the Holy Grail. That is my Holy Grail. That's going, I mean, as cheap as I've seen that online, it's like $80, $90. I mean, probably cheaper, but I'd pay $80, $90 easily for it if I had it, if I could find a copy. That's why I avoid eBay, because it's like collector's hell. But if I found a game, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. I'd be done collecting old games. And the fact that game was, after it was made basically illegal to freaking buy because it was unlicensed by Nintendo, and they sued Atari, they destroyed the remaining copies. I think only, you know, maybe a million copies exist, if that. Not even that many, I don't think. I mean, it's an ultra rare game. I mean, there are probably games out there that are a lot more rare, a lot rarer to freaking find and buy and own. But I mean, Tengen Tetris, just the fable alone, because it's Tetris. I mean, it's the best puzzle game of all time. Pretty much, it's one of those games that launched the genre. Just like I often consider Resident Evil the launch of the horror genre, because before that, the survival horror genre. Because before Resident Evil, games like that were shooters. I mean, I call Resident Evil a shooter. I still call it a shooter because you're shooting. The gunplay is the key element in the title. I mean, I'll call Duck Hunt a shooter because that's a shooter. That was one of the earliest shooters, because it really is. You're shooting with the freaking zapper. But, and you know, and I'll say Mario was really the beginning of the platformer. I mean, there may have been an earlier, real platformer. Pitfall, I call a platformer. But I'll call Mario the launch of the platformer. And, you know, if you know your history, going back to, you know, the 1983 crash and the fact that Famicom just turned 30 years old, it ain't a coincidence that Mario was the key component in saving the gaming industry. I have to keep this under 15 minutes because I tried once before and it was like 18 and it wouldn't load. So I'm going to end this now. Ask questions on my video blog for on Nintendo Realm. Tweet me questions. I just started a Twitter account for Hero Man. He's at hero_live_. Oh, no, sorry. At hero_man_live. And Hank the Shy Guy is always on Twitter. So yeah, I'll do another video blog this coming Friday. This is Fyre, the Spirit God. That's what the TSG is. See you later.